Good afternoon, everybody. It is a very dreary and wet fall day. Halloween Eve, actually, here in North Georgia. And I'm getting ready to head out and do a little bit of road cruising. I'm really hoping that the salamanders are going to be out tonight. But it is fairly warm, so there's a good chance we could see some snakes too. But the big target for tonight is going to be the very big and impressive tiger salamander. It's something we haven't seen on the channel in a while. And we're definitely jumping the gun a little bit. They tend to breed a little bit later in the fall and winter, but we're going to give it a shot tonight. I'm mostly just enticed by the fact that it's kind of warm and rainy at the same time, so I'm hoping that we might be able to see some snakes as well, even if the tiger salamanders aren't out. But we're going to give it a shot and see what we can turn up. But I've got quite a bit of a drive ahead of me. It's about an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes to where we're going to be cruising. So I'm going to hit the road, and I will check in with you guys when we get there. Alright, well, the rain is coming down, which was one of my main concerns, so now that it's actually for sure raining up here, I am pretty optimistic we'll at least see some salamanders. So might not get a tiger, but we'll see something. So we'll get to cruising. Actually, I'm at Zaxby's getting dinner, and then we're gonna hit the road. Well, that wasn't too bad. As soon as the rain picked up, look at that. Beautiful eastern tiger. Alright, I got the video light out since it's pretty quiet out here, and I don't think there's going to be any cars coming along, but that's actually one of the more interesting looking ones I've seen here. One of the more vibrant ones, at least. They tend to be a little bit less colorful and a little bit more weird at this population for whatever reason. You get a lot of reduced pattern. But, I mean, this is a pretty small tiger, and honestly, from the top, it kind of looks like a spotted salamander, even though it's definitely a tiger. But you can see, still a little bit bigger than the average spotted salamander, even as a small one. So this is a kind of weird defense mechanism I've never seen a tiger do. A lot of ambystomyids are actually slimy, similarly to slimy salamanders. And they do this weird tail hiking thing to kind of scare off predators. And a lot of times they'll exude the slime from the base of their tail. So that kind of attracts the predator towards the tail, and then they bite the tail, and they get a mouthful of slime. But it's such a cool and derpy looking salamander. And I think my first one from the month of October. So I'm taking some pictures of this guy before we let him go, and every time I put him by this pine tree, this is ridiculous, watch. Let's see if he'll do it again. He just, for some reason, wants to climb. I've never seen anything quite like this. These are notoriously fossorial salamanders. I mean, this is the opposite of what you'd expect this thing to do, but I mean, several times now I've put him down, and I was able to predict basically what he was going to do, because he's done it over and over again while I'm trying to get pictures of him. He just goes up this pine tree. Well, that is more what I would expect him to do. Just try to bury into the grass, because they are notoriously fossorial. They love burrowing, and a lot of times they will end up burying themselves in farm fields because the soil is nice and loamy. And I'm sure that probably happens quite a bit around here. But you can see this guy's got a long, very flattened tail. I'm assuming this guy is moving towards his breeding pond, where over the next couple of months there will be lots of breeding activity, hopefully. It is on private property. I wish I could get out into that pond, but it's in someone's yard, basically. But maybe I'll go door knock one day, and we'll see if we can walk around out there a little bit. But really cool. Good looking salamander, and exactly what I was hoping to see tonight. So I'm just gonna let this guy go on the opposite side of the road, and we'll drive around a little bit more and see if we can find another one. Well, here is the only other herp I've managed to muster tonight. A very dull green tree frog. This guy would probably be a lot cooler looking if it wasn't so cool outside. This is definitely kind of the end of when these guys are very active. They're more of a spring and summer species, and really we don't even see that many in the fall. But any night that it's decently warm and raining, you can see any of our tree frogs with a little bit of luck. This is actually the first thing I've seen that I've actually gotten out of the car for and it wasn't gone, that wasn't that tiger salamander. Actually, this guy made it off the road. You can see I was just able to track him down though, so I'll leave him to it. Nice looking green tree frog. Alright, y'all, well, it's about 11 p.m. right now. I've been here since about dusk, and most of the time was spent sitting around waiting for it to actually start raining. But that's the name of the game with salamanders sometimes. I'm just glad we actually got a tiger. It was a pretty big risk spending the time and gas to actually come up here tonight, just because we're not even really anywhere near prime tiger window yet. I just had an itch to get out, and there wasn't really much else that sounded appealing, so I decided to shoot my shot, and I'm glad we did, because we got to find a beautiful tiger salamander as a reward. This is really depressing, but just like there's no leaves left on the trees. It feels like it's summertime out here still. It's nice and warm. It's like almost 80 degrees today, but there's just there's no leaves on the trees because it's November. It's actually November 1st today. And I'm not actually herping today, but I am cleaning out my car, washing my sleeping bag, because tomorrow I am leaving for a trip for the next couple of days. I'm going to be couch surfing and car sleeping. And the beginning of that trip will start in North Georgia, but then we are probably going to end up as far north as Missouri. So stay tuned for that. Good morning, everyone, from beautiful North Georgia. It's actually closer to midday. I got a little bit of a late start because I didn't want to jump the gun up here and start herping too early this morning. Because it is this late in the year, there's a very small window of the day where I'm actually likely to find snakes. So we want to focus on that perfect window rather than risking flipping any rocks too early in the day before stuff is even up under them. Yeah, the main goal today is to see a milk snake or a timber rattlesnake. It's November 2nd, I believe, so definitely a little bit late for the mountains, but we'll see how it goes. From here, I am actually headed even further north into Tennessee tomorrow. That will probably end up being in this video unless we just clean up today. Well, I pinched the absolute shit out of my finger under a rock. You can see it's not looking too good. But here's our first herp of the day. Probably not a great sign for snake activity because typically these guys pop up once we are well into the winter-like weather pattern. But this is a little redback salamander. We could possibly be in range of zigzags, but I do believe this is a serratus southern redback. Sorry if it sounds like I'm struggling to formulate sentences. I'm just in a lot of pain right now. That really hurt. But yeah, first herp of the day, first herp of the trip. Nice little redback. Oh, a Tantilla. Nice. Well, this kind of blocky, unsuspecting rock produced our first snake of the day, a nice big adult southeastern crown snake, Tantilla coronata. You can see that distinct crown right there. I'm gonna see if I can get him to put his head. Oh, nope, freak out mode. All right, we got this guy out in the open now. Oh, there's just a daddy long legs about to crawl over me. But yeah, nice looking, healthy, really actually kind of large adult. I mean, they don't get too much bigger than that, so I'm just gonna let him wiggle back under his rock, and we're gonna keep flipping, see if anything else is out. I've always been surprised I don't see more rattlesnakes here. I mean, it's just pretty ideal, and especially this time of year because these big rocks would make a perfect place for them to hibernate. All right, everyone. Well, I've been poking around down here in this more low elevation pine forest for a while. I was just hoping that maybe it is a little bit warmer down here, and I was hoping that maybe the snakes would react to that, but it doesn't seem like anything's out down here either, or I'm just not in a really great area. But either way, beautiful outside. It's nice to just explore a new area. This is always one of my favorite parts about this time of year, even if the herping isn't great. It's a good time to take risks and go check out new areas. So I started off the day in a very familiar spot that I didn't see too much in, and I've been walking around out here for the last couple hours, but I've got a little bit more of a drive to do today, and I'm getting kind of hungry, so I'm probably going to hit the road here soon, head up into Tennessee, and get closer to our destination for tomorrow. Finger update. It actually looks a little bit better than it did a while ago. It was really starting to turn purple, and now it's just like very pink and unhappy looking. But yeah, the consequences of trying to do the right thing and put a rock back properly. So this is pretty cool. It's not a herp, but this right here is a edible lion's mane's mushroom. And they get pretty big. That's not even a particularly big one, but they're quite good. I've actually found and cooked these before. Since I'm traveling, I'm not going to cook this one, but maybe we'll do that at some point on the channel. But you tend to find them in the fall here in the southeast, and kind of even into midwinter like December and January. But the earlier in the year you get them, the better, because they do go bad eventually. They tend to grow on the sides of like dead logs and stuff just like this. This is a pretty typical scenario to see them on, but every once in a while you'll find them like growing up on upright trees too that are dead. But really cool, a good one to know because they are quite good and they're pretty common here in the southeast in the fall. So lion's mane mushroom. Here's a neat looking pair of Chattahoochee slimy salamanders. This is the subspecies that we get up in this portion of far north Georgia. Both of these guys have some nice big white splotches on the side, but this one's actually got a regrown tail. It's a good comparison of what a full tail and regrown tail looks like. Although at some point that tail might have been broken too and it's just grown back better. But herps have been kind of few and far between today, so I'm pretty happy to see these guys. All right, guys, after a pretty long day of not really accomplishing too much, I have made it to my rest area where I'm going to be crashing tonight. It seems pretty peaceful so far. There's a couple of semis here idling, but other than that, there's not a lot going on. But yeah, I'm just gonna car sleep tonight for a couple hours and then get up in the morning, and we're going to head after our next target, which is actually a salamander species I have never seen before. So I'll go further into depth on that tomorrow, but for now, I'm gonna get some sleep, so I will see you guys in the morning.